Am I the jerk for causing my sibling to have a meltdown because I didn't give them sushi? Did I mess up? I have been visiting my family over the last week, and it is my last day here. So far, it has been a disaster. There are a lot of roles and family dynamics that are unhealthy. I am the eldest at 29 years old, and the only one who does not live at home. My sister, who is 18 years old, and I are often parentified, and my mother spends most of her time elsewhere. Today I decided it would be a good idea to get the twins, who are 13 years old, to do some of their chores without being micromanaged, which would help them learn to improvise. I told them I trusted them to do it, but made them aware that we are in a time crunch because my mother gets angry if she arrives home and the house is not spotless. I was helping them during this, but they were stalling on purpose and doing the bare minimum for 5 hours. The tasks could potentially take 20 minutes, but everyone is different, of course. My sister and I tried to explain patiently the urgency of the situation, but my brother was very rude to her, and they ended up having a very heated argument. I tried to explain how my sister was reacting this way because a lot of responsibility falls on her unfairly, and he was not empathizing with her. His argument was that he thought it was clean enough, so he did not understand why she was yelling at him for no reason. My other brother understood and admitted he messed up, saying he was stalling. Another argument broke out when I got sushi. I gave my sister some, but decided the twins did not deserve any due to their lack of empathy for my sister, which happens on a consistent basis to the point she is burnt out. A huge argument and fight broke out. There was screaming, and he called us derogatory names. There was a lot of chaos over the last few hours. The majority of the family says I should not feel guilty because they believe I am being treated unfairly. I spent the last week catering to and caring for my family. I specifically paid attention to the brother who had this meltdown because I am aware he has been bullied and struggling lately. I am afraid this triggered him. However, he was also angry at me because he could not use my gaming laptop just now, while simultaneously talking negatively about me to his friends on Snapchat. I understand he is a child, and children react. I feel guilty and like I messed up by ordering sushi. So, am I the asshole? You are not responsible for this. He's going to have to learn to cope with life, which includes being told what to do and how to do it. You are not responsible for living your life so that no one around you has a meltdown. They may be used to getting by with slacking, so a little pain of missing out on good sushi may be the lesson they needed. Am I the jerk for eating meat at my aunt's house when my dad wasn't around? So I am a 15-year-old male and I live with my father, who's a 45-year-old male, and his boyfriend, Mark, a 40-year-old male. My mother died from cancer when I was 9, and then a year later my father came out as gay and started dating Mark. They have been together since, and I am cool with it. I just want my father to be happy. The issue is that since my father got with Mark, he has become a hardcore vegan. Out of nowhere, we went from eating normal food to everything being plant-based. At first, I thought it was just going to be at home, but nope. My father decided that I am not allowed to eat anything that is not vegan, even when I am not at home. He says it is about ethics and not supporting animal cruelty, which I get, but I do not see why I cannot make my own choices when I am away from the house. Here is where I might have messed up. I stay with my aunt, my mother's sister, every other weekend. She has always been really chill and does not have all these crazy rules like my father. A few weeks ago, I was at my aunt's place and she asked if I wanted a burger for dinner. My father was not there, so I figured, why not? I had not had meat in forever and I was really missing it. I ate the burger. It was amazing, honestly. I did not think it was a big deal since it was not at home and my father was not around. But then when my father came to pick me up, my aunt mentioned it. She was not trying to cause drama. She just casually brought it up and my father lost it. He totally flipped out on my aunt, saying she was disrespecting him and his choices and that she should not be feeding me stuff that goes against his rules. Then he turned on me, calling me ungrateful and saying I had betrayed him and everything he has been trying to teach me. Since then, he has been giving me the silent treatment and has not talked to me at all. It is super awkward at home now. I feel like I was just making my own decision, especially since I was not even at home. But now I am wondering if I should have respected his rules even when I am not with him. I really do not want to hurt him, but this whole thing feels so unfair. Am I the asshole for eating meat at my aunt's place when my father was not around? Should I have just stuck to his vegan rules even when I am not at home? You acted correctly. Flipping out on you and your aunt is not okay, and the silent treatment is a control tactic that's unhealthy in any relationship. You're more than old enough to make your own choices about your diet, and him making that choice for you is what's unethical. Your father is being completely unreasonable by forcing his beliefs on you, especially outside of the home. It might be worth talking it over with a counselor at school to help navigate this situation. Am I the jerk for taking back my dad and stepmother's wedding invite after they refused to drop the topic of parent-kid dances? I am a 26-year-old man getting married, and my fiancée Nella, who is a 25-year-old woman, and I aren't doing traditional wedding activities such as the father of the bride walking the bride down the aisle or father-daughter and mother-son dances during the reception. We are walking down the aisle together. We are having a first dance. Once the first dance is done, anyone can dance, and there are no special dances planned outside of our first dance. Nobody else had any complaints about this except for my stepmother. She married my dad when I was 6 years old and became my primary caregiver when I was 9, after the death of my mother. She expected we would have a mother-son dance. We talked about it. She told me how long she had wanted this and that dancing with all her biological children would not make up for me skipping over this milestone moment. I told her this was not a moment Nella or I wanted to have at our wedding. My stepmother asked why an exception couldn't be made. She said Nella and her father did not need to have a father-daughter dance, but we could still have a mother-son dance. I told her it would not be a mother-son dance. If it happened, it would be a stepmother-stepson dance. Her face showed how much it hurt her to hear this. This was not the first time me using the term step has hurt her. She never saw me as her son, only her stepson, but I always saw her as my stepmother and never my mom. She brought it up to me again a couple of times on her own. Then my dad got involved and he told me I could throw my stepmother a bone. He told me it wouldn't hurt to give her one mom thing. He said that she has always been othered and kept at a distance by me, which is true. I never wanted her to be my mom and was never open to seeing her as my true parent or mom, so I never tried to let her in that way. I told them they needed to drop it and I would not change what Nella and I had planned, just for my stepmother. They mentioned it 3 times after this. Nella and I sat and discussed it, and we decided the next time one or both asked, we would take back their invitation. They brought this up again, and I followed through with what Nella and I agreed on. I told them they were no longer invited to the wedding. I told them they had pushed this boundary. They were demanding I add something to a wedding that is not their own and is not being funded in any way by them. My dad said the money shouldn't matter. He then asked me how my half-siblings would be able to attend without them. I told them they would have to stay at home with the 2 of them if they didn't want someone in the extended family taking them. My stepmother asked me if I would really prefer for them not to be there over a simple dance for the 2 of us where she can have one moment of feeling like she gets the recognition as more than just being my stepmother. I told her I would prefer that, and it was their own fault for refusing to stop asking. They told me I was making a big mistake and was turning into someone they didn't like before their very eyes. Am I the asshole? You are not the cause of this issue. They were almost harassing with their insistence, pushing 5 times before getting uninvited. They should have accepted the first no and let it go. When the invite was withdrawn, they didn't even apologize and pushed again for the dance. They have no one to blame except themselves for acting like spoiled brats. Am I the jerk for ruining my siblings' wedding and honeymoon? So I, a 20-year-old female, have an older sister, a 30-year-old female, who I'll call Emily. Emily got married 2 months ago to her partner Danny, a 34-year-old male. My siblings and I grew up together, and Emily was a huge influence, along with my other older sister Mary, a 27-year-old female. They were both wild, and from a young age, I knew a lot more than I was supposed to about partying, dating, and other similar activities. Mary got married 4 years ago, and I am really close to my brother-in-law. He knows about her partying, drinking, and everything else she did, and he never had a problem with any of it. I have met Danny only a handful of times since they live far away, so I assumed they talked about everything. During the wedding rehearsal, the day before the wedding, we started sharing interesting stories from our childhood. Danny asked me why I have never dated, drank, or partied. Without thinking it might be a big deal, I said that after hearing all the stories from my older sisters, I never really wanted to or felt the need to. Danny looked a bit confused but said nothing. Mary just glared at me. Later, Mary told me Danny knew nothing of Emily's wild days. I apologized to Emily and she told me it wasn't a big deal. I hadn't thought about it in 2 months, but Emily and Danny visited us yesterday. Danny was as nice as ever, while Emily was a bit standoffish. While Danny was out with our dad, Mary and Emily ganged up on me and told me Danny was mad at Emily for lying, and that I ruined their wedding and honeymoon. My mom heard us talking, came into the room, and chastised my sisters for blaming me for Emily's lies. After they went to my sister's place, they were going to stay with her for a couple of days prior to this incident. I started feeling anxious and bad about what happened and the part I played in it. My mom told my dad and brother what happened, and they both said I did nothing wrong. My dad said he would make my sisters apologize, but I don't want them to get involved. You are not at fault here. You are definitely not the asshole in this situation. How would you have known that Emily did not tell your brother-in-law about her past? If Emily did not want Danny to find out, she should have warned everyone to keep quiet about it. She should have owned up to her lies, as it would most likely have come out in the future anyway. Trying to shift the anger onto you is just her way of avoiding responsibility for her own actions. Am I the jerk for telling my parent I don't want to sleep in a bunk bed? I, a 30-year-old female, am recently married to my husband, a 33-year-old male. I do not live in the same state as my parents, so we all travel to see each other a few times per year. 2 weeks ago, my dad called me and asked if he could come visit for a few days, while my mom hosted some friends at their house. I told him I would be returning from work the same day as his arrival and would be very tired. He said no problem. He would get a hotel the first night and then would like to take my husband and me to the coast for a few days. My work schedule is a 2-week on, 2-week off rotation. When I am gone to work, I live in a dorm-like community setting with bunk beds. My job is demanding and stressful, and the commute home is long and tough. When I get home, I usually just want to sleep and hang out with my husband for the first few days. I have learned the hard way that if I do not give myself this down period, I usually get sick. I have had COVID-19 5 times, but going to the coast with my dad and husband seemed reasonably restful, so I said yes. This morning, he sent me the link to the Airbnb he has already booked, and the second bedroom, where my husband and I are expected to sleep, has a set of bunk beds. I called him and gently but directly told him I was not comfortable with sleeping in a bunk bed. I explained that I'd been up at work for 2 weeks, was commuting home on the red eye, and needed restful sleep. He got defensive and said this was the only place he could find. I told him I would have appreciated being asked if I was okay with sleeping in the bunk bed. He said that he was planning to sleep in the bunk bed, so he did not understand why he needed to clear that with me. My dad is a big man. In no world was he planning to sleep in that bunk bed, and he knows that I will not make him. Well, come to find out, the house is non-refundable, so we are stuck with this arrangement. At 30 years old, I am tired of not being considered an adult in decisions like this. At this point in my life, I cannot just sleep anywhere and be fine. Not to mention, I have missed my husband terribly and always sleep best when we sleep together. My sister is on my side as she has also experienced a lifetime of these situations with dad. Mom says I am being ungrateful, and now I have made dad feel like I do not want to spend this time with him. Am I the asshole? He said he'll sleep in the bunk bed, so make him sleep in the bunk bed. Maybe then he will get the point. You are not in the wrong. Some people just don't think about how their arrangements affect others. Sometimes it's better to just book your own place nearby. Am I the jerk for deciding to live with my dad full-time after my mom moved in with her partner and his children? My mom moved in with her partner of 3 years recently. They bought a place together and they want to get married. Before moving, I, a 16-year-old female, always shared a room with my 10-year-old sister. My 12-year-old brother had his own room. My mom's partner has a 15-year-old daughter and his other children are boys. They didn't want his daughter to share a room with the boys. So my sister was moved into a room with my brother and I was told I would be sharing with my mom's partner's daughter. I didn't like that. I told my mom I would rather share with my brother and let my sister share with her partner's daughter. Mom said that was not a good idea. My brother and sister suggested the 3 of us could share, but mom cited space as the reason that couldn't happen. I didn't want to share a bedroom with someone I'm not close to. I love my siblings, so no big deal to share with them. I don't love the 15-year-old, so it was not something I was cool with. My mom tried to argue about college, but I won't be going to college. I'm going to do a trade. Even if I end up with roommates, we'll have our own spaces. I told her all this. I also talked to her about my decision to stay with my dad full-time. It was written in their custody order that once we reach 16, we can make that decision if we want to. My mom didn't think I was serious. The wake-up call was when I moved nothing into her new house and only stayed for short visits instead of overnight visits. My dad fully supports this. My mom and her partner aren't happy. He is extra unhappy because his daughter is now the oldest and has no one close in age to hang with during family time. She's not that close with her brothers according to my mom and her partner. I told them I'm not here to be her entertainment or companion, and I'd hang with my siblings anyway. The age gap is not a problem. My mom gave me an ultimatum to move in with them and stop living full-time with my dad. When I didn't change my mind, she told me I was acting spoiled and mentioned I had always shared a room. I said sharing a room was not the issue. I always shared with siblings, not another random child. Mom said it was entitled to say that, and she also cursed my dad out for allowing me to live with him. She can't fight it though. It's in their custody papers. Am I the asshole? You did the right thing. Mom and stepdad were downright foolish for moving in together without discussing it with the kids first and coming to a solution. It doesn't make sense that mom doesn't understand you're a young adult with options. Parents are supposed to support their kids, but it sounds like staying would have been super toxic. Good thing dad has your back on this one. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.